Hi, everybody. Shannon Petrovich with Therapist Talks. So we're going to continue this casual conversational Q&A format. And anytime you have a question, please put it in the comment section below and I'll get to it when I can. So neither this nor any other channel is a replacement for having your own therapist. And I'm going to keep my comments and responses pretty general so that I'm not pretending to be anybody's therapist here, obviously. Hopefully that's obvious. So the first question comes in and it's about having to spend time with a sibling who has narcissistic traits or qualities or personality, I'm not sure which. So this person said that she's trauma bonded to her sister and she has to spend a few weeks with her. So in general, if you need to spend time with someone with narcissistic tendencies, the most important parts are that you really up your game in terms of your own self-care. So when we talk about self-care, we're talking about everything. Our physical self-care, whether it's exercise, eating well, sleeping well, all of that kind of stuff. Our emotional self-care, taking care of ourselves emotionally, having good boundaries and all of that. And so I'll focus in on that a little bit. If you're spending time with somebody who has narcissistic qualities and you're trauma bonded, by definition, you have sort of othered yourself. In other words, you are tending to take care of that other person above your own thoughts, feelings, and needs and boundaries. So what you need to do is first step back from that person and step back from those trauma bonds and start to really notice your own thoughts, feelings, emotions, your own needs, your own boundaries. And when you start to take care of yourself, you'll notice when you don't take care of yourself, and you'll notice when that self-centered person is encroaching on you and your own emotional well-being. When that happens, you need to recognize that's happening. You need to take care of yourself again. And sometimes you need to take care of yourself by removing yourself from that situation. So if you're spending time with that person, even for a few weeks, that's a lot. You need to have some outs. So an out might be going for a walk. It might be calling a friend. It might be calling somebody who you know is going to be supportive, calling a therapist. All of those things are how you take care of yourself within that situation. Eleanor Roosevelt famously said, "No one can insult you without your participation." This is very true when it comes to selfish people and insulting, judgmental, critical people. If we don't participate in that, if we are taking care of ourselves within that, then what that feels like is very different than if we are not. So if somebody is insulting or critical or judgmental, and I am intact and feeling good about myself and taking care of myself and separating myself from that person in an emotional sense, then that is just sort of noise. I'd go, that's interesting. And if I'm not taking care of myself, then that lands and it hurts and it's very damaging. So I like to call it watching the circus go by. So when you are with somebody who does that kind of thing, you sort of recognize it as them and it has to do with them and not you. So it's like watching the circus go by. Oh yeah, they always do that judgmental, critical, ragey, crazy stuff. That's not about me, that's just them. So when you start to feel like that's encroaching on yourself emotionally, that's when you need to go take a hike, go take a walk, go separate yourself and go have a phone call with somebody who's going to get you grounded in yourself again. So that's those are some tips for how to take care of yourself within that setting with somebody who has narcissistic qualities. The second question has some similarities too. It's about whether somebody should address the old hurts with a mother who has narcissistic qualities and traits. Now, this is a tough one. I think that it's extremely important that you write about, journal about, and talk about your own hurts and those kinds of things that have happened, and that you figure out all of the specifics of that, because that helps you, again, not participate in that. You recognize what's happened to you, you recognize it wasn't about you, and then you sort of take an assessment of all of that. Whether you then share those insights and those past hurts with that person has to do with what that person is like in your current relationship. Are they likely to listen, to hear you, to acknowledge you? If they're not, it may not be worth going through that. You have to recognize that that experience would be for you only, and that you can't insist that someone take ownership when they may or may not do that. By definition, someone with narcissistic traits or qualities doesn't take ownership of their stuff. They don't apologize, they don't change their behavior typically, and they don't see your perspective or have empathy for your feelings. So if you have someone with really truly narcissistic qualities, the likelihood of them taking ownership or giving you what you need or acknowledging that they had anything to do with anything that happened that was negative in the past is very, very small. So you going through that process, if it's important for you to do that, then do it, but recognizing that you are unlikely to get what you need in return. That being said, if you are in relationship in an ongoing way with this person, it's really important that you have boundaries around the things that are really important to have boundaries around. And so if you are feeling emotionally unsafe or emotionally judged or criticized or raged at or anything like that, again, watching the circus go by, it's not about you, it's about them. But boundaries means what boundaries are how I take care of myself within that relationship. In other words, if it's getting too intense and the circus is really off and really too crazy, then separating yourself emotionally and physically. So that might mean that you say to that person, or that you just say within yourself, when this person does this, or this, I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to separate myself physically. I'm going to leave the situation. I'm not going to talk to them for a certain amount of time. So those are my boundaries and how I deal with that person in that relationship. So in other words, always taking care of yourself, separating yourself emotionally speaking from that person's shenanigans, recognizing that they do what they do and they've always done that and they're probably going to continue to do that. And how do I take care of myself within that relationship? All right. Well, you take good care of yourselves, and I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions or follow up around this or anything else, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notifications, and I'll talk to you again soon.